in my personal opinion, is probably paper will still be around for quite a while. But I think what we have to do is recognize paper for what it is, and that is that it's merely a way of moving information or content around or data around. So when you write somebody a letter, for example, the only reason it's on paper and not in an email is because that's how you choose to move that information or that letter to the other person. When people are comfortable with the fact that that information can flow and move without it being on a hard thing or a physical form like paper or like stone before that or whatever the case might be, then I think you might find the use of paper becoming less and less. I think there are other regulatory things that need to be brought in to really help with the process, like it needs to be accepted that you can sign a document digitally and that can be held up in a court of law, for example. That in itself would help hugely in moving away from the need to print documents out for a signature on. I think there are stats that say that sometimes documents are printed out 10 times over from a digital form simply to get a signature on it, which is completely ludicrous and isn't necessary in today's world. Sometimes a digital signature is better even than a handwritten signature, and there's more validity about it. So there's lots of things that need to come into being and come to bear before we'll get sort of a real decline and a real acceptance of a sort of a paperless world and a paperless way of communicating. I think that there's I don't think people think long and hard enough about what benefits could be achieved by moving into a sort of a completely digital environment. I think if they started to do that, then very likely they could. I think that it is sort of being thought about more and more. I have heard words used by sort of organisations that say that documents or document management is going through a revolution. And that's probably true to an extent. I think the technologies are advancing hugely. I think what we had sort of over the last 20 or 30 years is the sort of the world of the PC and everything else coming into being. I think what we're finding now is documents are trying to, the sort of whole world of document management and information management is trying to catch up a little bit with that. So you've still got massive amounts of documentation and information locked away in big storage facilities and so on that is unused and untapped and just costing businesses huge amounts of money. Not just in terms of the actual cost to keep it there, but just because they should, I would hazard a guess and say that in most cases they don't even know what's there. And just think about the untapped sort of information and sort of insights that they could be having from that information if they were able to access it and use it, if it was in a more usable form.